Hey everyone, Lilum Red, or Best Lilum Dorothy for those in the fog. Today, I want to talk about my thoughts on the most recent update of Dead by Daylight, the Unknown update. It's honestly surprising that Behavior were able to do a DLC based on the AI Wonka experience so fast.
It's the unknown.
Joking aside, there's a bunch I want to talk about in this update, a new original survivor and a killer, and a new map. And a few changes, so let's just get into it. The new characters are the Unknown and Sable, and were released with these really cool teasers which were build up to the eventual release of the killer. Unlike most characters, this was one that was surprising and not leaked, or at least to a point where we actually knew what it actually looked like, which made it one of the most hyped trailers to come out since it was first unknown in Dead by Daylight. I mean, I doubt anyone thought something like the Dredge or the Singularity would be killers, and the build-up and the unsettling nature of this creature leading up to the official announcement will have a long-lasting effect on the community. But even if it does have an effect, does the killer even hold up well? Well... The Unknown is the newest killer added, and honestly, I really like him. Not really sure what to call this thing. I just made a Minecraft Steve to do to my skin. Anyways, they're a normal movement speed killer with strong tools in its arsenal, but its main power has a lot of skill expression, an arc that bounces. Honestly, it makes me feel like the old Junkrat play of the game videos when Overwatch first came out. Good times. The biggest thing for it, in my opinion, is the sound and design of the thing. It's a lot like the Dredge, which they both share the same realm. It goes to the Uncanny Valley, like it's human enough, but it moves, it cracks, its voice distorted and tendrils. And when survivors get weakened, the killer's unique status effect, the voices become more focused and clear as the survivor falls into its embrace. Reminds me of why I like killers like the Singularity and the Dredge in their designs. One thing I do want to say is to give massive props to the voice actor of the Unknown, Zoe Alexandra. I think that's how you say it. I couldn't really find anything about her online, but I honestly thought it was two different voice actors until I got told, no, it's just one person who has such a range with their voice. However, I can't really say the same with the Unknown's perks. They're very disappointing, to be honest. The only one that I can see getting use out of the playstyles that I personally enjoy is Unbound, but Unforeseen is pretty cool. It's a generator version of the Plague's perk Dark Devotion, which I'm a big fan of personally. You can get some goofy fun out of it, but it's just one that just feels too weak to get too much value of it, like Buff Trials of Torment. And Undone, which I can see being problematic exclusively on certain Doctor builds, but I also don't see them really wanting to change the tired and true build that we all know and love. To finish the talk about the Unknown is the build that I ended up liking, which runs mostly chase perks. The Unknown for me is a lot like an M1 killer with extra steps. I see him kind of like how I see and run Xenomorph. I've got Bamboozle, Superior Anatomy, Batteries Included. I ran Unbound for a bit, but I found Imalias being a very useful thing on him, so you can get some cheeky hits on this bad boy. I also wanted to add the Obscure Game cartridge, the Vanishing Box, and the Blurry Photo are all personally my favorite add-ons, especially the Obscure Game cartridge, as, you know, you had 20% more speed on pretty much everything for a couple of seconds. That's really nice overall. And overall, I will say that this killer is a fantastic addition to the roster. But how about Sable? Sable is honestly one of the most hyped up survivors I've seen to this date when I started playing, which wasn't just Resident Evil, a goth GF, but she won't be yours unless you're Michaela IRL. Joking aside, A very beautiful survivor, especially in the skin department, except for their hair. I don't know, it just kind of looks like a bird nest for some of them. As every survivor plays the same, I think it's best to talk about her perks. There once was a killer named Insidious Bubba, who was the king of the basement. He had fame, power, and blood points beyond your wildest dreams. Before he camped the baby Dwight, these were the final words he said. This brought the Sablebanes to the fucking realm in search for the one basement so that they can do 10 charges of a generator permanently. What even is this? Sorry about that, but all of Sable's perks are basement themed. One for healing when in the basement, which stacks with botany, making it kind of insane. One to unhook yourself freely when you're in the basement, which is really cool perk in situations where you can actually use it, but you don't get broken like Deliverance, so it's really useful. Just don't make it obvious, because, like, yeah, killers just will avoid the basement if they know. Unless they don't know, of course. The final one is actually a new mechanic. Invocation. I'm assuming that's how you say it. I'm bad with words. A 2-minute process, but it can be done... 10% of a generator is permanently completed at the price of being broken for the rest of the match. A very strong power and an interesting concept. I think the part that makes it cool is depending if another survivor has the perk itself. Instead of going up by 50%, it will go up by 100%. If they do another cool part, which is the new mechanic, your mind goes wild with possible ideas for new perks. I kind of like the idea of a permanent boost in altruism at the price of, I don't know, gen speed, or maybe paying hook states for enhancements and chase. There's so many ideas they could do with it. I hope it just doesn't become Boon 2.0 and just falls flat, but we'll have to see with future characters. Speaking of mechanics, when we are getting into the new Scourge hook that isn't just a rework of an already existing perk, it's been so long, and yeah, I just... come on, man. Where's the new Killer Scourge hook? Overall, a great addition to the Dead by Daylight's growing roster. The only one complaint I have is the simple fact that she's just got like so many skins at launch, while other survivors like Gabriel, another survivor that came out in Year 7, is starving. But that's just the reality of popularity, so can't blame them. Before I talk about the map though, I think I should bring up the Unknown's counterplay. Now, I've only played a few matches with him, like against him. Didn't do the best against him, but I've got the gist. The name of the game is staying in open areas. Mind game their projectile and make sure the Unknown doesn't amass a large amount of spots to teleport. The Unknown is probably one of the biggest snowballer killers I've seen, with the amount of matches I've won just by the survivors not getting rid of duplicates. Is too many to count, but that just comes with a killer being new. If you do get infected, try your best to get rid of it as fast as you can, but don't get tunnel vision on doing it. It's the easiest way to get hit by the projectile, or just, like, get hit in an open area. And be patient. One miss is enough in most cases to get rid of it, unless they're a sneaky boy. Also, it's best to keep in mind that the Unknown can teleport to a duplicate that you're getting rid of, so keep that in mind. The killer can feel daunting to beat, but as long as you manage everything and you have a strong mindset, you can win pretty much most matches. The map is probably one of the best designed, wise, with the atmosphere. It's a massive foresty area with a statue with a cute Easter egg with Michaela and Sable's name on it, hinting that their relationship might not just be friends. The main spectacle is the theater. It has everything a theater needs: seats, food, the projectile, a pallet in the arcade which makes funny noises when you drop it. Even introduced a new pallet type. With one pallet, it becomes a really good loop. Both down, it becomes an insane loop. But when they get broken, well, it's not really a good loop anymore. The map does, in my opinion, have an issue of pallets just being scattered willy-nilly. And half of them are just, like, meh to death traps. But demo puppies will have something to chew on. Overall, compared to other maps connected to this one, yes, it is connected to the Garden of Joy, shared the same realm. It's a fine map. I enjoy it, even if it's just spectacle alone. But overall, it's not really a map that I'm going to be clamoring to go play. Especially since I have a 50% to play Garden of Joy. There's no joy in that map. It's a lie. The most recent balance changes are they're changes. Not many where I can say, okay, but why though? The only one that I had which was like a problem in my opinion was the nerf to the bear trap time. For the pig was reverted, so all is well with the world. Anyways, Mangled and Hemorrhage have been nerfed. It now has a timer before it goes away. This will hurt the tunneling Wraith population, which will, of course, invigorate them to increase their tunneling. So look out for that one. Joking aside, there is very much needed because strong killers will make it impossible to heal. And then you have, of course, the classic Doctor builds that will not allow you to heal. Those are fun. Those are very fun. On an actual killer-specific changes, however, Compound 33 got another token, which is nice. Clown got a pretty sizable buff of 2 extra bottles to his base kit, and longer afterpiece time and quicker activation by 1 second and half a second respectively. The Demo Puppy got his Shred hit and Pallet cooldown buffed by 0.3 and 0.2 seconds respectively, but the nerf to the Black Heart and Barb's Glasses by 5%, which is fair. The Discipline add-ons got nerfed, and the Yellow add-on got nerfed as well, but got a buff to his range detonation time to his base kit. Thank God, because it feels so much better to use his ability. The amount of times that 0.1 second could have made the difference between another loop and a down was one of the few reasons when I actually ended up dropping Doctor, but this might bring me back to playing him more. I'm lying, I just don't like hearing him laugh anymore. The Hag, however, got some changes, which I won't lie, I really don't know what half of it means. If there's any Hag enjoyers in the chat, please explain to me the half of it, the comments, because since I don't know, it's a nerf or a buff, but she's got an 8 meter buff to a teleport, which is very good. 0.1 second buff to the setup, which triggers stage traps for 1 more second. Buff, the time to get rid of it is by 0.5, and the one that confuses me is they decrease the trigger range by 0.3. This adds a lot to her add-ons being nerfed to this increased size now being decreased, but what confuses me is, wouldn't you want the trap to have a bigger activation size, or is it more of so it can be more precise to hit the survivors? I don't really know. Hag is a killer I don't like, so I don't really know, and you don't really see them. However, a killer you do see, the Huntress, got 2 new hatchets, which is very nice, because it makes the purple add-on feel less needed, because, well, I mean, I suck, I'm going to use both of them anyway. But you also get a 0.1 less seconds on the wind-up speed. Finally, is a miracle, I can't wait to say this, Pig got a buff. Got some neat blood point buffs, which is nice to see. Ambush got a buff on all ends. Pig crouches faster, Pig moves faster while crouched, with the only downside is she's no longer can see traps. Oh, and her add-ons being nerfed, but the base kit buffs make it up, obviously. I know that people dislike the fact that Pig can no longer see traps, but personally, it makes it way harder for pigs to tunnel out bear trap survivors, which is the behavior's main idea for doing this, which I fully support. I'm glad they didn't continue with the timer increase, because that was just silly. Like, at least have them have something, especially since it's her main power. Overall, pretty nice changes. Good job, John Behavior. But I want to say one last thing. Now it's the topic that will likely be in every single one of these patch videos I'll be making. This isn't a one-shot, well, it might be, who knows. But Wraith was a killer that got me into Dead by Daylight. I remember when a good friend of mine was getting me into the game, seeing Ostava zoom around with Wraith was the thing that actually got me into it. Sadly, that was when he was not in the best state, but poor me didn't know that, but I didn't care. I loved the guy. Regardless of that, Wraith is in the healthiest state he's ever been, but how's this update changed that? Well, not too much, except for the massive change in the Mangle status effect, but I, be perfectly honest, I think that it's a healthy change. I will keep in mind that I personally use the green add-on as I'm a very hit and run playstyle with Wraith, and it frees up a slot instead of using Sloppy. But for the new perks, I don't really see them doing too much for the old Bong Boy. Unbound could be useful in Shack situations. 5% haste does a lot, and there's a build that I like to use which maxes out Bolt Speed and the overall speed build, and sadly I don't see this perk being really useful with it. But if you want to use it, I recommend pairing it with the obvious 2 other vaulting perks. And since you've lost a lot of gen pressure, I would also add something silly like Territorian Parents to catch those Sables doing their magic stuff in the basement. Unbound is a cheeky perk that would be obnoxious on Doctor due to his wacky skill check Monkey Shines, but unfortunately, you're Wraith, meaning that you don't get all the cool stuff that he does. However, you get some use out of it, but really the only way you can maximize your pressure in 1 hour is to run a max gen slowdown build. Something that I tried and got, well, let's just say, not really good. I used Distressing, Chlorophobia, Unnerving Presence, and Undone. You can swap out Distressing for something else, but it will maximize your radius. Now for the add-ons is the interesting part. I tried these 3, as you can see them being useful, but it depends on you. Obviously, you'll need to go for the Joke add-on, the Beast Soot to have your Terror radius always be around, and the All-Seeing Spirit, which will let you see gen progression, so you can force the massive setbacks, and Blind Warrior to make healing speeds more obnoxious, which will help with Chlorophobia, but you won't really need it. This is a very memey build, and you'll lose most matches, but you could probably get some fun out of it. You just won't get max stacks out of this perk, because it's kind of just pretty shit, to be honest. Speaking of another goofy build, I liked a build of Dragon's Grip, Unforeseen, Dark Devotion, and Overcharge with a Silent Cloak and War Hacks. Overall, it's alright, but it really isn't a perk for Wraith, since, he's already undetectable. Stacking undetectable doesn't really work, but it's sure as hell a funny way to play him. Overall, Wraith, my little baby boy, my little Scrungus, has taken a small but healthy L in this update, but I just hope it doesn't make the Council of Casual Wraith players decide that their tunneling is now more justified, because they really like to justify it. Since there was a delay in making this video, I thought I'd talk about the event. And, well, before I say anything about the event, the offering got kill switched, so that's funny. That aside, this is the first time in a long while where the community has something to actually work to, especially everything done in the Blood Rings, be it gens, healing, killing, hooking, yada yada yada. You go to the community event, once that's completed, everyone is rewarded with a massive blood point bonus at the max 500%, which I don't even need to say is why it's a massive fucking increase. Keep in mind, that doesn't add offerings onto the table. I've seen some people bring solo BP offerings, but hey, that happens. Overall, it's a perfect time to get those P100s. I'm not getting my P100 yet. Fucking Ash is still at like 87 or something. Gameplay-wise though, I'll be honest, not the biggest fan. You collect blood orb things and put them into altars of blood and makes a circle. Survivors get that grunts and blood disappear 50% faster and 100% if they crouch, which is insane. However, it kind of forgets the fact that unless you're out of a chase, it doesn't really help you out. At the very least, you can heal in peace, but I think the additional scratch marks disappearing 50% faster or something extra could have made it a little better, especially when killers get literal coup de grace in the circles. Once safe loops turn into death traps, with killers being able to fly around them. I mean, yeah, there's the downside of you having a crazy long recharge at max lunge, and if it's the first hit, it almost guarantees either the survivor escapes or goes to a safer loop. But the ability to shut down long loops as a basic M1 killer is insane in my opinion. It's cool that it's there, but I feel like it's overkill, honestly. Also, to add on top of the event tome, it's very by the books, but it's right next to a fun chapter, so I can't really complain. Let's just hope that next year the offering actually works and isn't kill switched. My closing thoughts, excluding a certain controversy with the unknown, which I don't want to talk about in this video, or really at all. It's a very fucking sick killer, and a really cool survivor, and I think there'll be a lot to love with these new additions for some people, especially Sable. Year 7 closes on Dead by Daylight. It'll be interesting in how, well, behavior tops this eventful year that this one really was. With that being said, though, thank you for watching this video. It's nice to finally talk about this stinky, no good game. I play way too much of it. I hope you found enjoyment from me talking about it. I plan to talk about most chapter releases, as long as I find interest in the content involved. I was originally going to do an Alan Wake talk, but I've never played Alan Wake, so I felt like it's just not really a spot where I want to talk about it. But with that being said, if you like hearing my voice, then why not hit subscribe and the bell? If you really like hearing my voice, you can keep up to date on my monthly videos if that's a thing. But yeah, there should be another video out next month. Planning on doing a Dragon Ball Z Kakarot video because, well, as most people know, Toriyama sadly passed away. And Dragon Ball means a lot to me, so making a video about one of my favorite franchises is a way to, you know, make a tribute to one of the greatest mangakas in the world. But with that tangent out of the way, I really hope you have a lovely day, and goodbye.